Definitely has a different.
No. You have to adjust your eyes to it.
Hey man, good. How was your thing yesterday? That's good. Yeah, we did the tour. We got the sheets down and Clinton and them drove all the way down to send up and stuff.
Not just that.
Yeah, we stopped and we'll take your life. We did that. We went up 15 to and then, we went probably half a mile down the road. So we gotta try regular traffic. So we have some suggestions.
I don't know.
Good. Have you been there the whole time? Have you been there though? Yeah. Collecting that.
No, I'm Jack. I wasn't here.
Okay.
How do you go back?
No, it was a good size.
Okay, thank you. Ready, Commissioner?
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. I ask you to please rise for the opening prayer and pledge of allegiance before we convene the Commissioners' Public Meeting. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you have given us the opportunity to gather in a country full of freedom and conduct business of our beloved county. Father, our hearts are heavy this morning with grief over the loss of a fallen one that has given his life in service for others. In your word you stated, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. One of our beloved troopers is now in eternal rest with you, Lord. Please comfort his family and friends as they pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. We ask that you heal the other trooper that was critically wounded. Be with him in the days ahead as he recovers. Give him and his family the strength and encouragement. We ask you to protect all our law enforcement each day. May your hand provide them the safety so they return home to their loved ones after their shifts of duty. Lord, as we enter the summer months, we ask you to provide us the rain we need to prevent any further drought conditions and damage to the crops that the farmers have labored over. Now, Father, we ask you to lead us in this meeting this morning with your wisdom. Grant us the knowledge as we make the decisions that will be in accordance with your will. May they be a blessing to our constituents. We give you all the praise for our blessings. These things we humbly pray in your name. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we'll convene the Commissioners' public meeting and ask for approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
Commissioner, we got one person who's trying to call.
Okay. Morning.
Morning.
Okay, at this time, we'll ask for the public comment on agenda items only. Okay, online?
None.
Okay, we'll move on to service awards.
Okay, Commissioners, one change on this. It shows that we have Detective Irvin being recognized for 10 years. Unfortunately, he's not available today, so we'll push that to next week.
Okay.
Moving on to Resource Management. Sheree Rogers, 30 years.
Morning, Jason.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Director. Commissioners, this is probably one of the finest things a department head in the county gets to do, is to have recognition for their employees for their years of service. Sheree Rogers here is just one of a few that we have now with 30 years. Sheree's reached out, and I guess 3 easy words to describe Sheree Rogers is faith, family, and unwavering integrity. And Sheree is, as our assistant business manager, she is the one who gets the fun of calling customers up when payment is late or non-existent. She is the one that gets to work out with them payment plans. She's the one that gets to be told numerous times the check is in the mail, it's on its way. So her name is in the page. They page her name quite often in the office when customers are calling in, and it almost is always, unfortunately, has to do with some difficult situations. She has served the landfill in mostly capacity as an assistant manager, and has seen so many changes through staffing and through the landfill itself. And it's one of the greater moments you get to do as a department head. I've had others here with 30s and one with 40, and I'm so thankful that Sheree is still with us at 30. She's in that lucky group. She's in that group that she could decide in any day. She can say goodbye. And fortunately for us, she still comes in every day, sticks it out with us in the grind.
I think her husband's nodding his head no.
Yeah. But no, I can't say enough about the integrity that she brings to the job. She's involved in all the financial money dealings, and as our other Waymaster, the cash box. And when you have someone like Sheree as a department head, I can rest assured that when there is a penny missing, Sheree Rogers is on it, and she is hunting it down and finding out what, why, where, and how. And you can't say enough about that. So it is my privilege as a department head of RMS to present Sheree Rogers for her 30-year tenure.
Hey, Sheree. Sheree, come on up. So you started working for the county when you were 10.
Yeah,
Yep.
don't I wish?
Like to say something?
Not really,
I'll
but.
put you on the spot.
I can honestly say it's been a pleasure working for RMS. I started out as a part-time weighmaster, and then I was a recycling clerk, and then a business supervisor, and then assistant business manager, finally using my degree. It's been a fun ride. As Jason said, the landfill has changed immensely. I think we were in field 4 or 5 when I started, and now we're in 11. So the changes that have evolved is incredible.
Soon to be 12.
Yeah. And I can't ask for a better work family. We all work together, and we definitely have a great group that we work with, and we are definitely family. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your many years of service, and you've done a tremendous job, and hope that you stay on for a few more at least, if not more, and I'm sure. Chris, is that okay?
Hey, whatever she wants to do.
And you want to introduce your family?
My husband,
Chris, yep.
Chris, my sister-in-law, Alicia, my oldest son, Josh, my mother-in-law, Edna, my sister, Donna, and my youngest son, Jake.
All right. That's great. Thank you for attending and being here.
Don't go away yet, Sheree. We do want to thank you on behalf of the people of the county. Again, a lot of people don't necessarily know you or know what you do there, but as Jason said, it's important to have integrity in that business operation, and that gives confidence to us, and it gives confidence to the constituents. And then obviously your career path that you've been able to take. I'm curious, did you have the business manager degree when you came with us, or did you earn that? Did you?
No, I have an associate's degree in accounting.
Okay, so you had that, and as you said, you finally got to a position where you were able to use it. Yeah, that's great. Well, we do thank you. I've seen you in many meetings down there, and you're always very knowledgeable about the institutional history of the landfill, and we appreciate that very much. We appreciate 30 years you've given us, given the people of this county. We do hope you'll stay.
For a little while.
Okay.
Thank you.
What was the top change or transitional change that the landfill had while you were there?
All the technology, I would say, with, the fields and recycling definitely has changed. All the modifications that we have at the recycling center, and it's just incredible how technology has evolved and changed, how things are done. When I started, we, at the transfer station, we did hand tickets. And so you can imagine the lines by doing hand tickets, and hand tickets are not fun. And becoming automated was huge. That was awesome.
It's dangerous work down there. It's very dangerous. People I don't think really understand that.
I think that's why Jason lets me go out in the face quite often. Well, thanks for your service.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have a pin here and certificate we'd like to present to you. A
Okay.
picture,
Okay.
okay? And then
Yeah.
have a picture of your family.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want an RMS picture first, then your family?
Yeah.
You can take multiple pictures. Come on, guys. RMS crowd.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, you're going up there.
All right, count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Guys. Yeah, yep, they're coming.
Come on, Mom.
Oh,
Okay.
You guys come up here.
Yeah. Hi, how are you?
You're retired.
Maybe they want just the family, not us.
Just the family.
Chris, sorry, you're here. Do you want just the family?
No, it's
Do you want the
fine.
guys? Okay.
All right,
Alicia, why aren't you up here?
1, 2, 3.
Can you look this way?
Just get one with the family. Yeah, just get one with the family.
Do you want me to
Yes,
Yeah,
Alicia,
I'm
get up here, please.
I wasn't like dressed.
It's okay.
I was in the workout.
Chris looks like he's ready to go to Hawaii.
Yep, yep.
You got the right idea.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
All
Thank you.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cherie, Commissioner Marabito said it was okay to take the rest of the day off.
go ahead, seriously, I said it, so do it. Go home, go with your family, have a good time. And bill it to Commissioner Masser.
I agree.
Absolutely. Okay, reports. Kalen, morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. First, I have presented for your ratification invoices due through June 28th of 2023 to be paid on June 21st in the amount of $795,532.84. The breakdown is as follows, with 52.96% being funded by the general fund at $421,295.41. 30.70% is being funded by grants and other sources at $244,248.36. 10.51% is being funded by RMS at $83,626.59. And 5.83% is being funded by escrow at $46,362.48.
Okay, motion,
Well, yeah,
I'll move to.
I'll second.
second, questions?
Yeah, I'm not mistaken, this one had the one with McCormick Law Firm on it for, trying to find it right now. And that-
I see.
It was a large amount.
Yes,
Because we run the grant through the firm, correct?
Mhm.
That's, so nobody gets, if they're looking at this report saying, well, what are you doing?
Yeah, that was through a HUD grant.
It must have been a buyout, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a hazardous mitigation.
buyout. Buyout for flood.
Those were not fees.
And
Right.
the other one was the software spectrometry,
Right.
which was a large one. And that is,
That was
That's coming out of ARPA monies, I think also. Tractor?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
they're the ones that take
We
the
already
pictures.
had-
They take the pictures.
Yeah,
Right.
this is, so they do it every year, so we already incurred one expense, I believe it was 83,000.
Yeah.
Page,
And there was
I
a
have
big
to
check
say
to Delphoi Village.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
May residential costs.
Yep.
Next for your work.
Thank you. Okay, motion to have a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried. This is the
All right.
first one, 3-2.
Yes. Next I have, sorry, I didn't mean to scream into that, to vote to approve the poll workers payment on June 6th or June 15th of 2023 in the amount of $85,756.42.
Okay, a motion,
I'll move to approve.
second.
I'll second.
We want to thank our poll workers for their dedicated service and also for their patience. We're looking at coming up with a different system. Our director, Budget and Finance, I believe has a good idea that we can possibly implement, get them their monies much quicker. So, we'll be working on that in the future, so hopefully in the November election, you can streamline this much quicker. So, Caitlin, thank you for following through with us and doing this work.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
Last but not least, I have to vote to approve the jury payment for jury panel number 12 for payment on June 21st of 2023 in the amount of $5,183.
Okay, motion,
I'll move to approve.
and second.
I'll second.
Any comments?
Yeah, I do. You know, I've been getting notices to serve in the jury the last 3 months in a row, or 3 times in a row. And I've had a lot of constituents come to me and ask me about the jury selection and the notices that are going out. I think we really need to look into the amount of requests for jurors. When you look at 65,000, you're talking $30-some thousand just in postage.
Yes.
And the number one complaint is, well, I'm wasting my time. Okay, I don't even get called, or I don't, they don't need me, but I have to be there. And if we're using that many, that large of a group, I think we need to talk to the courts and see what we can do to remedy this problem. I think it's a problem.
I would agree. I know it's a frustrating situation with the courts because a lot of jurors don't show up. But there has to be a better way of streamlining this. When you have 65,000 called a year, I mean, the county's 112. So 1 out of every 2 people are getting a jury notice during the year, and they're leaving work. They're often are not used. Some are actually even turned away. I believe one group was turned away in the lobby. To make adjustments to their lifestyle to try to do public service, there has to be a better way. If they're going to serve, they're going to serve, and if not, then they.
And maybe we just need a better explanation.
Right. I don't want
as
to
to why.
criticize. criticize the courts because I know they're frustrated too. So.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's something we have to sit down with them and look at statewide to see what our counties are doing, because I can't imagine our counties are doing this.
Right.
Yeah, the same process, and I know it's a very challenging situation for the courts. But again, just the postage alone, it's a lot of money for postage. Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're moving on to personnel actions. Jessica.
And I'll add to that is also the sheriff's name is on the top of those jury notices, so they get all the phone calls, they get all the complaints, and that's a burden on the sheriff's office too. So I think the sheriff's also should be in on the conversation with the courts.
That actually got removed, Commissioner.
What's that?
That actually got taken care of.
Oh, it did?
No longer on.
Okay, well, that's good news.
Yes.
So I know the sheriff was quite upset about it,
Yes.
because it's a burden on your office too.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good
morning.
morning, Director. Seeking your approval on the following personnel actions. These are conditional offers of employment subject to the successful completion of a background check and all other employment conditions. So for the IT department and consolidated services, Heather Leonard, hired as an administrative full-time replacement at $17.96 per hour, and she's anticipated to start on July 31st. For the prison, Matt Vogel, hired as a CO1 full-time replacement at $20 per hour, anticipated to start July 16th. Lauren Walters for the prison, hired as a corrections officer, full-time replacement, $20 per hour, and anticipated to start on June 30th. Also for the prison, Kylie DeWitt is transferring to a part-time position. She's currently full-time. As a corrections officer, her pay will remain at $20 per hour, not to exceed 1,000 hours in a year, and she's anticipated to transfer on Sunday, June 25th. And then for the Register and Recorder's Office, we've hired Nadia McNutt, hired as a clerk 4, full-time replacement at $17.64 per hour, anticipated to start on June 26th.
Okay, can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried. Okay, we'll recess the Commissioners' Public Meeting this time for the Salary Board, and we'll convene the Salary Board.
All right, Salary Board, seeking your approval on the following Salary Board actions as outlined in Attachment B. Request approval to approve the long-term vacancy coverage pay for the following employee effective June 8, 2023. In RMS, Dennis Brewer, Resource Recovery Supervisor. Request to approve long-term vacancy coverage pay effective June 13, 2023. In Information Services, Leslie, Consolidated Services Manager, and Mark Leo, Deputy Chief Information Officer. And then additionally, request to add the following position in the prison. It's a per diem part-time LPN, pay grade 10, not to exceed 1,000 hours annually.
Okay, can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I have a second.
Second?
Any questions or comments on these positions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, so carried. Okay, thank you. At this time, we will adjourn the Salary Board and reconvene the Commissioners' Public Meeting.
All right, TD actions, Jessica.
Seeking your approval to add the LPN position to the prisons TDA. So it's an LPN part-time per diem position, pay grade 10, not to exceed 1,000 hours in a year.
Okay, a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jess.
We're moving to action item 7.1, Commissioners seeking your approval to appoint Suzette Snyder to the Williamsport Municipal Airport Authority.
Okay, can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. So carried.
Suzette's
Yes. Good morning, Suzette. We want to thank you for being here and thank you for coming forward to apply for this position, and we wish you the best wishes, and hopefully that it'll be a good appointment. We know it will be. You have a tremendous background, and we look forward to you working with the authority down there. There's many challenges down there, so
That's what I understand.
Yeah.
So I look forward to it.
You are highly recommended.
yes,
Would you like to get up and
Yeah.
introduce yourself so that people can see who you are?
yes. See,
Or
well,
maybe you don't? No.
one of our newest airport authority member, and just maybe say a little bit about your background and
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Suzette Snyder. I recently retired from Textron, so I was with the Textron Systems organization, but I also worked at EasyGo for a while with Textron, so I retired. So I guess that's going on 2 years ago now. Loving that. My husband is 11 years older than I am, and he retired about a year before I did, so it was really nice to be able to spend time with him. I graduated from Bloomsburg University, as did my grandmother in 1929, so that was why I chose Bloomsburg. And I also have a number of sisters and also aunts and uncles that went to Bloomsburg. I grew up in Susquehanna County. I'm one of 6 children. I'm the oldest of 6. My dad was a carpenter when I was growing up, and he became a pastor at age 62, so he retired from the Methodist ministry. Let's see, I am married. I have 2 children. They're both grown. My son bought a house in Montoursville, so he is still here, and my daughter lives in Williamsport. She went to Mansfield, and my son Luke went to Penn College of Technology. So we did spend a little time out of the area, spent about 8 years in Augusta, Georgia, when I was working for EasyGo, leading human resources, and my 35-year career was all in human resources. So graduated with business management, but also studied under the labor group at Cornell, as well as a number of different executive training sessions. I'm also a graduate of Leadership Lycoming and a graduate of Leadership Augusta. So that's just a little bit about who I am, and I am excited about the opportunity to help where I can and get back involved in the community after being out of commission, so to speak, for a couple of years playing with dogs. So that's who I am.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome,
Thank you
Leo.
very much.
Thank you. Okay.
7.2 through 7.5, mine.
I'm actually going to do Ken's as well.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Director. The first item I have for you, 7.2, is vote to approve the rejection of the bid we received from Lycoming Handicap Ramp Replacement Project from Lundy Construction. That was an amount of $85,200. Obviously, we're going to rebid that project, and hopefully the number will come down.
Okay, motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All fair side?
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
The next item is a vote to approve the award of the bid for the 3rd Street Plaza re-roofing project to Holton Contracting. That's in the amount of $209,875, and this is a 2023 budgeted item.
Okay, motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All fair side?
Aye.
So carried.
Suzette, if you would like to leave, you may leave.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, you don't have to stay. Thank you again for attending.
Thank you for having me.
Yep,
Appreciate it.
yep. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too.
The next item is a vote to approve the architectural fee proposal with Tony Visco Jr. in the amount of $27,200. Again, we have budget funds available for this. We've been planning. This is part of our move to 3rd Street Plaza from Executive Plaza after we sold this while we're in the process of selling the building. Here is the proposed layout of what Tony and his team are proposing. There's some minor modifications we have to make with regards to security, but overall, we think it's pretty set and ready to go. The unique part about this space is that it was already done for us. We had a gas company there that did a lot of renovations, so it's pretty much almost really ready to move in with the exception of some modifications, which Tony will be assisting in.
You know, about 5 years ago, we talked about moving over to 3rd Street Plaza and consolidating duties. Is that plan included in this?
No, we have decided to change things a little bit, just because of the nature of each department with regards to needing to know in particular, well, one, there's multiple things. One, if we had just one secretary to kind of take over everything, it would be a lot of work to figure out where to put people. It would be a large undertaking to figure out, how to address that. But the other issue is that it's just a workflow. With people coming in and out, that person would have to, especially planning, I use them as a department that, serves the public a lot. It would just be a lot of strain on that one person and to know what to do there to handle them. Because it's just more than their clerks just taking people back to, meetings and bringing them into the department. All those other clerks would have other administrative functions. So that would be the hard part about it, would be then delineating, those particular job duties. So if you look, there's kind of like a reception area in each department. That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be housing additional staff. We're going to be utilizing current staff. So like, I'll just use my department as an example. I have an admin specialist, which most departments do. That admin's going to be responsible for that reception part. So that means that, it doesn't mean they're going to even necessarily sit there. It just means that there'll be a call button and that admin would come out to address that person coming in. So it's still the same functions, essentially what's going on here, with the exception that we have a designated reception area for which the admin would address. So again, we're not having, just one to kind of do all, because we found it to be very challenging to do that.
Well, I think my question would be, because you're consolidating a lot of services in that one floor, and that to have one contact point person that can lead them in the right direction.
Yeah, we're proposing as part of this, and you won't see that on here, but there'll be a directory. We're trying to figure out a way to address that so it kind of leads people to an area where we need, again, it's a security measure too. So all of that's being worked out, and that's what we're currently working on now. We're figuring out ways to, reduce the access to corridors and specific offices.
Inner corridor that would surround like the elevators in that area. It will actually direct everybody to the proper department or functional area.
And then, of course, the security side of things is that, we'll have an access control system in place so that it would restrict the access to, particular departments. And that's not only just to the public, but actually to other departments as well.
This is fantastic because you have, plans are there. As we move forward, we actually see the plans now. You know, the sheriff's office is nearing their rebuild. They're getting ready to reopen again middle of July 25th, I believe is their target date, back over into the courthouse. We have the coroner's building in the process of starting to move. We have the Charwell building, which is in the paper this morning, which will be moved by July 31st, 2024. They'll be on the 4th floor, and now we'll have a lot of the county services on one floor across the street in one building, about six or seven different county businesses, offices I should say, on one floor for the public to visit, and they don't have to jump all over the place.
Yeah, it's, you know, Tony has done actually a phenomenal job for us at the county.
It's great flow for
Yeah,
offices.
we're blessed in the sense that Tony actually worked on the original layout plan when the gas industry was on that floor. So he designed that whole space. So we're piggybacking off of that, so it's reducing our costs as a result of that. And, you know, the perk is obviously that it is done and ready to go with the exception of a few modifications, which is helping us drastically with the cost as well. You know, it's more than just the architectural design. He's also going to assist in the overall bidding process associated with the project, with drafting the bid documents. As we know that internally here, we don't have time or the staff to, you know, complete this work on ourselves with our facilities management. So he is going to bid all that out and be the project oversight of the entire build, and that'll help assist Ken as well in his department to make sure that things are properly with the project. So I think it's overall a great project. It's been wonderful working with Tony so far, and you know, working with him again on the joinder. I've been meeting with the joinder. We have another meeting next week, so there's a lot of fun, exciting things happening.
And we wanted to make sure that we had this on display for the press so they could see and the public so they could see the plans going forward.
And you know, I've talked with Tony, and we feel confident that it's going to meet the time frame which is needed as part of our pending agreement of sale with Horizon, with the due date of, you know, moving over there prior to the end of the year. He feels confident that we should be able to meet that, assuming, you know, there's no hiccups along the way. Unfortunately, you never really know until you start a project and you determine what supply and chain issues are. So that will probably be more of the hiccup than anything, but the project itself should be able to move pretty, you know, fast.
Okay. Maya, thank you for your work too.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah.
I think just following up on what Commissioner Macera was saying, and maybe it's left to the next Board of Commissioners to look at that in a more detailed way, but we just want to be sure that we're not being duplicative in terms of our reception folks. So for example, you used to go into HR and there was a person there in reception. You went into the Commissioner's office, there was a person in reception. You went into the fiscal office, they had other duties. It's not that they just sat there without other duties, but to the extent that going forward we can consolidate functions. And again, it'll be up to the new board once people are in there to see whether, I understand what you're saying. When people go to planning, they're not just going to make an appointment. They're going to pick up plans, they're going to meet with someone. But to the extent that we can
And I'll mention that everything's highlighted by color, so you look at planning, that's all the blue color.
Right.
So they take a
They'll
big
take
part.
a big part of it.
Yeah.
Part of it.
You know, and I think, and that's not to say, you know, that we can't do that moving forward. I think
Right.
initially these are just the plans that we wanted to get us moving. We can certainly look at that overall
Yeah.
and make modifications as we get over there for that kind of
absolutely. And
flow.
the new board can look at the kind of, you know, working with the director to look at, and the department heads looking at whether people have time on their hands to change it, you know.
Mhm.
But at least we have ourselves moving there, so that's good. And you should explain where the public meeting room is in that drawing.
Well, right now, so right now it would be in this area here. So there's a conference room that we utilize that we looked at that, you know, we are, I guess, there's another part to this. It's a part two,
Right.
which is working on, our goal was to make everything on the first floor so it's more accessible and easier for our public to access for public meetings. We don't want to have everyone going, up to the third floor and roaming around, and we want to have ease of access. So the intent is that eventually, we would like to have on the first floor of TSP to have the public meeting room. He's in the early stages of doing that. This obviously is the main focus right now. It's being done, in conjunction, but this was the first part. At some point soon, I hope he's going to have that part.
In addition to what we're doing on the third floor, we're trying to realign some of the offices that have all the walk-in traffic. And so we talk about veteran services. We talk about assessment, which is currently on the 5th floor. And so it may make sense to put them on the first floor if we're going to redesign the space, in that corner, and then potentially move voters to the other side. So Tony's taking a look at all that and seeing what's feasible, and he'll present a proposal to the commission.
Yeah, so that's, I think we met with him last week, so he's well aware of what we're trying to do there. So I'm hopeful within the next week, he's planning on having a proposal on that side of things so we can figure out how to make that work.
And I think what's also important is this is not just unique to what we're doing from a county perspective, but we're taking into consideration what's happening with the joiner moving in on the 4th floor. And we've talked about potential partnering or sharing of services. So, that requires different space requirements for IT.
Right.
So we're trying to make sure we're looking at everything.
Right.
A lot of moving parts, but I feel confident, like I said, that we can meet our deadline and our goal to move over in a timely fashion. And so yeah, what you see here is, like I say, for the conference room is what we're using now, but we know that that's just to hold us over until we get what we need to get on the first floor.
Okay. Exciting things to come.
Yes, very much.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So, motion,
I'll move to approve.
second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried, thank you.
Yep. My next item is vote to approve the quote for shirts for the Lycoming County Fair Communication Operations Team. It's from Rogers in the amount, Rogers Uniforms in the amount of $444.48. This is something that the Sheriff's Office requested that we pay. Not all of these, obviously the team is not made up of county employees, but they are volunteers that help make the fair a success with regards to communications, and he's asking that the county pay for these shirts.
Have a motion,
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
And then the last item I have is vote to approve agreement with Ainsworth Incorporated. It's in the amount of $35,600. This is to replace the PRC boilers. They are purchased off of CoStars, and it is a budgeted item.
Okay, motion,
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, so carried.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want this here, or may I take it back?
Take it back.
Take it back? Okay.
See if the paper wants to get a picture of it.
Okay, yeah.
All right, moving on to 7.7. Beth, are you on the line?
I am. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Director.
Morning.
This is actually a revenue item. This is a second amendment to an agreement between ourselves and Geisinger Medical Center for the use of tower space and shelter space at the Armstrong Tower. This was an increase from $1,200 a year to $3,500 a year with a automatically renewing contract that every 3 years there's a 10% increase in charges to Geisinger.
Okay, motion,
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
Thank you, Beth. That sounds like a very good arrangement.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
And 7.8, Sal.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
This item here is just to approve the PennDOT Transportation Planning Grant Agreement. So the overall agreement, the master agreement for the Watts MPO's Unified Planning Work Program, the UPWP. Highways contacted PennDOT late last year. They had more money being allocated to us if we wanted to take it. Obviously, we said yes. The technical committee approved the updated UPWP with the additional funds in it was April, and then the coordinating committee of the MPO in May approved it as well. This is basically the next step for your approval, and then the email we got to go out to the PennDOT site to e-sign it and make it official. This would be the next step in that.
Okay. Motion.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All fair side?
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
So, the 220 project up there between Linden and
The safety corridor project.
what are you hearing from your constituents?
So we actually, PennDOT District 3 had a Connects meeting. So the Connects meetings are the district's way of doing outreach to the municipalities and constituents. We met with the township supervisors back in February, actually. Out of that, Scott Williams and I attended. We suggested to the to Woodward Township supervisors that there may be the possibility to seek supplemental funding to do a study in that particular stretch in that corridor to see how that project is going to impact the local road infrastructure based on the concerns that Woodward Township supervisors had. We put together basically a memo, if you will, a white paper on that with the input from the supervisors. We just submitted that to PennDOT central office to make that request. We're estimating about $100,000 to fund the study. It would be very similar to the CSVT study that we did, only be a much smaller corridor.
So I guess my question is, as they were proposing this, I mean, they had a lot of objection to the project in the first place. But now that the project's almost complete, and you're seeing how it's working, what's the purpose of the study?
Our study specifically is going to, well, if we get funded for the study, I should say, what it would focus on is, it would be very similar to CSVT, so land development issues that you'd want to tie in for future planning of the corridor. So you're not just putting in, you know, a bunch of big box stores with new access onto 220, how different traffic patterns are actually impacting the local municipal roads. Is there a way we can improve those roads? Is there a way to do that in a smart manner, in a more efficient manner? It would impact potential safety concerns. The goal of the study is very similar to when we did the CSVT impact study. You'll have a menu of suggested options to go forward with for safety improvements, for road infrastructure improvements. Are you going to need to repave some of the local municipal roads? One of the things we want to put in there as well that we talked with the supervisors about is actual pedestrian infrastructure. So for safety reasons, obviously, how to get people maybe across that corridor if you're going to walk, if you're walking across to go to, I believe there's a Dollar General up there, what's the best, most efficient way to do that? Now, the unfortunate part right now is we don't know if we're going to get funded. We won't know until later this year. I mean, we do have a good track record with putting these requests in with the district and the central office. Once we would know if we get funded, we'd obviously have to work with Maya and put together a request for proposals, go out, seek a firm, and then the funding would then, those proposals would then finalize what the actual cost of the study projected would be. We estimated $100,000 based on CSVT and it being a smaller corridor, just as a number to give to PennDOT. But our rep from PennDOT, Dean Roberts, the central office rep, spoke with me just the other day. He's going to put the ask, if you will, into central office. And typically there's a little email back and forth or some phone calls to get a little more clarification, but we haven't heard anything yet. They just got it probably, I think, Friday or Monday last week. So, but we are working with them to try and adjust some of those issues and then hopefully, if not be able to fix problems, at least give them a list of fixes that we can then pursue future projects with. Okay.
So,
Yeah, yes, sir.
the fund, the 751,550 additional funds.
Sure. Well, it's not, that is not, that's the total. So FHW, yeah, I mean.
It's increased by 31,550.
Yes, so FHW already had, God bless you,
Okay.
it was $11,000 for fiscal year 2022 to 2023, and
Right.
11,000 for 2023 to 2024. And then there was a subset of that, I believe it's $9,550 that we're putting towards safe and accessible planning. So, you know, opening up different connections maybe to the Riverwalk or ADA compliant curb entries and things like that.
Right, so the increase was only 31,550.
Correct, yeah, that's just
Yeah,
the
'cause
total.
I don't know about them, but I was looking, I'm like, how did they pull this out of the budget?
Yeah,
But,
no,
okay.
that's the total adjusted for,
31,
yeah.
yeah. And that, the technical committee has already looked at some projects, and then they'll be,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the technical committee voted on in April, I think it was April 24th. They had this in front of them. It was the UPW gave the two. We actually have a task 3-A-2 now that's going to go for assistance with consultant fees.
Yeah.
And then the 5D is the safe and accessible task. So that's going to focus on safety and accessibility to the transportation system writ large, right? So pedestrian, roadways, all those kind of things.
okay, thanks.
Thanks, Commissioners.
Thank you, Sal.
Thank you.
All right, that completes the action items. Commissioner comment?
You have anything?
Quiet group today.
Yeah. We'll be leaving here and going up for closing at 11:30 on the mall. They're closing today, so we'll have some new owners. And we look forward to the plans and progress that'll be going on in the eastern part of our county.
You know, we did have a chamber meeting yesterday, you know, a lot of the business owners. And we discussed about county government helping finance certain projects and the priorities of trying to repopulate our county. And it's like a double-edged sword, because the next question I asked them, when you say you want me to fund housing, or you want to fund purchase of properties, the next question I said, well, if we do bring in economic development, are you cannibalizing the workforce? And they said, yeah, you know. So I guess we have to really look at that and say, how do we address that? And is that through housing? Is it through really making a commitment, the future Board of Commissioners making commitments to economic development through housing programs? Because if we don't have it, they certainly won't move into our community. And it was a pretty good conversation, but I believe, let me see, Alexander.
Jay Alexander.
Jay Alexander said it best. If we can get our officials to throw as many balls in the air, you know, and work on as many balls in the air projects as we can, then that may be part of the solution. And there's another opportunity coming up where the First Community is looking at having partners with the chamber, city, and county to get another big development started here, you know, or a developer coming in here to invest in our community. And it will be in the Williamsport area. So I'm sure we'll be having a conversation about that shortly.
City Council's actually voting on it tonight.
Tonight, yeah.
And the First Community Foundation, their board has already voted to move ahead with it. And an agreement that everybody else does.
Yeah, so we should talk to the public about it. So what it is that there's a large part of Williamsport is the federal opportunity zone, which is a result of the change in the tax law. Actually, under President Trump.
3 areas.
Right, three designated areas that are called federal tax opportunity zones, I think. And so there are investment funds that basically invest in these opportunity funds, so they take investments from people and they aim to get a return on the money that they're investing, but they specifically invest in opportunity zones that give tax benefits. Those tax benefits get passed down to the fund. So they First Community approached the county and the city and the chamber about the 4 entities partnering where we each would put in $1,250,000, and this investment fund would put in $20 million. So what it would do is it would bring $25 million of investment to the county. Now, if you think about that, it's a lot of money to be able to invest in the county that doesn't happen often. In fact, the ARP money, the American Rescue Plan money, as much as we sometimes angst about the federal budget, that put $22 million of investment at the county level and $25 million of investment at the city level. And the difference between, in my mind, rural communities and the urban, suburban communities is that there always is lots of big money investing in the urban, suburban communities. It's not unusual to see projects involving 20 million here and 20 million there. Now, obviously, there are more people, but even the one that always comes to my mind is look at the Amazon investment, right? But even beyond Amazon, there are always, in rural areas, it's hard to amass that kind of money to do projects. We have developers who, well, the FamVest is a good example, right? We're putting some money in, and they're going to be investing money. So one of the questions that the commissioners are discussing is, do we go in also? When this only works if all of us do it together.
That's correct.
Right? And I think that it probably makes sense for us to do it because it's not often that we get an opportunity to get that amount of investment into the community in an area that's economically depressed.
You're leveraging the money.
Right. We're leveraging the money.
Except for one distinct difference.
Right. Yeah. Well, so it's important to understand this is called first loss capital, which means that the last capital to be repaid in this investment fund are the 4 investors: Chamber, Community Foundation, City, County. Okay?
We take all the risks.
Yeah. Well, we're taking a risk proportion because the fund is also risking 20 million. But you're right. We're taking a risk in that sense. And it's called First Loss Capital Fund, which sort of is a little misleading. Well, it's first loss, meaning you're the last paid. So I think even given that, now the foundation, I understand, is going to decide whether it's
They've already decided.
whether it's a grant or a loan. They haven't decided
They
that.
haven't decided that.
Yeah, but they've decided to do it, assuming that the other entities do it. And I think the city would probably do the same, and the county, if we were going to do it, we obviously would have to be dependent on the others.
I think it's actually a grant, is what they're looking at.
Yeah, they're probably, yeah. I don't want to speak for the foundation, but so to Commissioner Masser's point about throwing the balls up in the air, we aren't just throwing them randomly. That's not what he meant. What he meant is that every opportunity that comes along, it's in our interest to try to grab it, to put investment out there to help grow the county population.
And we've done
And I
that.
think, go ahead.
We've done that with the housing initiative program, where we've committed $2 million last year, $2 million this year, and we actually have a decision here to make on 2 of the developers that would bring about 150, 175 homes, brand new homes to the county, one being in the Lowestoft area, the other one being in the Hughesville Wolf Township region. And so that helps address the housing issues.
It's not just the housing, okay?
Yeah,
Because,
it's just one, like what you said, throwing the balls up in the air. That's
right,
one.
it's a matter of the return on your investment.
Yes.
And the only way we're going to hold the line on taxes is to generate revenue from taxes, new taxes,
New homes.
new homes,
New homes.
new businesses.
Yep.
And it's difficult, you know, you talk about, you know, the ARPA money. You know, I don't want to see trillions and trillions of dollars because a lot of it's wasted or not even spent. Okay, and it does affect the free market. But what we are seeing is a lot more businesses and developers coming to the county for money.
Right.
And it'll be interesting.
So I think that what's sometimes hard for the public to understand is, on the one hand, you hear us talking about the loss of population, and on the other hand, you hear us talking about funding new housing. And you're thinking, well, why would you fund new housing if the population's declining? We think that some of the population decline that we understand from the realtors is they're going to surrounding counties where there's more housing that's newer. Lewisburg, in particular, that county, Danville.
We've been told that by
we've been told
different
that
CEOs.
by realtors that they're losing that. So I think we have to have a multifaceted approach, right? We can't just do enticing business to come. In fact, it doesn't seem like we have to put out a whole lot to entice the business. They're coming. But we have to make sure that when people come to the community, there are other things that also they look at in terms of their family. The Riverwalk, places for parks. You know, the city has been doing a lot on improving the parks with their ARPA money. So
Not just the city, we have had tremendous renovations with parks throughout the county.
Right.
Montgomery and Clinton Township is a beautiful one now that was dedicated last year. Wilsac has a beautiful one. When Tours working on theirs, there's many of them that are improving their parks, and so it's a good point. And
that's what at the end of the day, I think people want to be able to be in a community where they can raise their family in an atmosphere that is conducive, right? That's what one of the things I've learned all over the world is people want the same thing. They just want to be able to have a family that they can raise and that they can be safe. And honestly, I found that when I was in Burma and when I was in China and everywhere. And so we got to do our little small part in this corner of the world to make it a place where people want to stay. And so we'll have to make some decisions soon on that.
Commissioner, I think it's important to note that the strategy that the three of you are employing with ARPA funding and is no different than how we leverage Act 13 or other dollars with a, I don't want to say minimal, but a small investment that leverages it 3 to 5 to 10-fold.
Right.
And that's only possible through the public-private partnerships that we're experiencing right now.
And one last point on this. Some people may say, well, that's county money going towards the city. It's going, the only way these funds operate is in a federal tax opportunity zone. They are in the city. That's where they are. No other place in the county. They're in the city. There are 3 of them. So.
Okay, anybody from the public would like to say any comments? Yes.
One on.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, Mark Messina from Townsville. Just a couple quick things. I've been a realtor for 15 years, and what you said about the housing is spot on. And after COVID, with so many retirees relocating here and people who can work from home relocating here from big cities, it's also jacked up the prices of the existing houses. So even with these new employment opportunities for people, then they could take the job and they can't afford to go in the houses because our prices have escalated so much. So we have to figure out affordable housing, that is the big problem. And if we don't have affordable housing, we can't fill the jobs. And to something Tony said earlier about the jury selection, I was just on a jury a couple months ago. And I never served. I just sat up in the room for a few hours with 70 other people. And I don't know if we can do this because you're not allowed to take cell phones into the courthouse, or most people can't. But if they could, if prospective jurors could take their cell phones in, at least you could answer emails and you could reply to texts and you could read documents. And people who you could do work, or people who didn't have that to do could at least take care of personal business. Because the most frustrating part of it isn't just the boredom, because we understand the process, and I think most people are happy to contribute to the process because we understand that's how our legal system works. But you just keep watching the clock and thinking of all the things that you can't get done, that if I just had my phone, I could get them done. And now you know I've got to do them later tonight, and if your kids have something going on or you have something planned, and that's where the frustration mounts. And then after sitting there for 2.5 hours, they come in and they say, we just settled. Which has happened the last 2 times I was there. And that's where the frustration builds. and you're just sitting there thinking of all the things you could do if I just had my phone. It's not to watch movies but to answer emails and to send texts and to read documents and things like that and to take care of other stuff.
Mark, it's a great point. One of the reasons why we eliminated it, I believe it was a commissioner's decision.
With what, the phones?
Yeah,
No.
because, no,
President
the
Judge.
courts asked us
But
to
the
change our building policy. And the reason why is because people were photographing the jurors and the witnesses. And, it was threatening. So that was the reason that we voted to not allow them. And I believe he's making a very good, legitimate point.
I figured it was because they were taking pictures of documents, and that's why I thought, but
No.
that makes sense.
No.
But in the juror room, and if there's a way you could
Right.
lock them in the juror room, and that was the most frustrating
I think
part
it's
the
a
last
great
time I was
suggestion, and
on.
maybe we can follow up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe there's a middle ground. By the way, just so you, and I know you didn't mean this when you said affordable housing, unfortunately, that term is sometimes confused with people to mean low-income subsidized housing, which you did not mean. I think
No, I just
you're
mean for
talking
the
about the
regular,
ability
everyday
of
person.
working people to afford a home.
Yes.
And unsubsidized, just working people. And just to allay the public's fear, this fund is not going to be invested in I don't believe.
It's attainable housing.
Right, attainable housing
that's
is
a better
is a
word.
better
Yes,
term.
yes.
And that's nothing against, subsidized housing or anything like that, and not to cast aspersions on it, but the feeling has been that we have a lot of that type of housing that's available, and we don't necessarily have enough housing for working folks who are being priced out.
Thanks.
Not that the others don't work either, but.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Tom?
Good morning, sir.
Tom Adams, Williamsport. Sure everyone's waiting on bated breath to hear what I gotta say. Well, one thing about the investment with that public-private partnerships, I'm always kind of on the fence with that because we don't want to see our system go to just be socialism, communism, whatever. But if it's kept to a degree where most of the money's coming from private and it's local, and you have the businesses are held accountable, and I think this thing with the mall seems like a pretty good deal. And you have with this one for the county, it's 20-1, and for the city, 20-1. So if you live in the city, it's 10-1. But that's it still looks like it's not too bad. But I think every time it comes up, it should be something that's kind of looked at. You really be careful with it. But and I think some of our founders kind of saw some things like that too when the country started out in debt because of the war, and they had to figure out how they're going to get things paid for and move the country forward. Some of that was a little bit debated too, but it is something to be mindful of. Also, with the I saw the story in the Gazette with the fellow that was fined for voting twice. Now, I don't know why there was a plea on that. I don't know the whole ins and outs. But my gut reaction, my knee jerk, without knowing the complete story with it, I think it should have been a felony and shouldn't be allowed to vote again. But, like I said, there could be other circumstances in there we don't know. In Proverbs 15:13, a joyful heart makes a cheerful face, but when the heart is sad, the spirit is broken. And I've said it several times, I think we have a PSYOPs operation on our country. They're just trying to break the spirit of America, and they're trying to continue with a lot of false information. We see the things with Levine was making comments, I guess it was last week, about transgenderism and the whole 9 yards with that. Just about every word out of the guy's mouth was a lie. You know, there was a study done in just in 2016 that the suicide rate for people after they transgender is 20 times higher than general population. That's 10 years after. Now with so much more of it pushed on the kids, that time span is lower and it's a higher rate. You know, so I think it's incumbent on us to try to keep a cheerful heart, a cheerful face, because there's going to be a lot of people, you know, we're dealing with a lot of people that are down, you know, and they're struggling with not just maybe some mental issues, but maybe because of what's going on, they struggle with that. I mean, we all do. It's really important for us to try to have a positive attitude and cheer people up in a good way. And one more thing, I was approached by a woman on Saturday. I was out talking with some people about running for school board. She said, "What do you stand on racism?" I said, "Of course I'm against racism." She said, "What about systemic racism?" I said, "Honestly, I don't see it in our system." I says, "You know, that's been dealt with." And we were doing great, I think, until we had a president that came along a few years ago, back in 2008, stirred the whole pot up with a lot of just not true information about a lot of things. But there's always room for improvement, I said. But I think I got her mad when I didn't see eye to eye completely with her on it. She walked away. I said, "But there's always room to talk about it. You know, we don't want to have racism." But what I see with this government and White House is that there's only one race. It's a human race. Evolution teaches there's different races. We have differences in people, but there's only one race. We're not animals like evolution teaches, and that's the biggest problem. That's one of the biggest things that have destroyed will destroy freedom and truth is the teaching of evolution. It's a foundation for Satan. And a quote by Washington is the duty of all nations to acknowledge and the providence of Almighty God, to obey His will, to be grateful for His benefits, and humbly to implore His protection and favor. And that's the sentiments of a lot of our founders, most of our founders and presidents.
Yes, thank you, Tom. Anyone else?
I have just one online comment. Jacob Stopper, first. That's it.
First. Okay. We have completed our agenda, so we will meet back on Thursday, June 29th, right here at 10 a.m. Thank you. Hi, Jim. How are you?
Oh, Jim.
Yeah, just saw him back there.
How are you? Get the microphones, I heard hi Jim, but I couldn't see who was over from.
Yeah, give me a buzz. Yeah, I got back.
I was upstairs, I was down here.